Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today we are going to be talking about Ashlye Kyle, Nick Snider, and Dustin Dailey, since Ashlye Kyle has put out a video stating how she has felt since everything that went down in Houston. And then I'll also be responding to Nick Snider's video and Dustin Dailey's video and just sharing my opinion on everything from what I see. So I will be linking all of their videos down in the description box down below, so you can go and watch their full videos if you want. But again, this is just what I am getting from everything that they have been putting out, so feel free to make your own opinion on everything. Before we get into all the details, I just want to say, please don't go and send hate to any of these people. Again, these are their opinions and their feelings, and I am just stating what I am seeing from all of it and combining all the information together for you. Alright, let's go ahead and jump on in. Basically, all of the drama, according to Ashlye, stems from her starting to be friendly with Sam for Here for the Tea again. In a live stream that Sam was doing, somebody was talking about her kids or mom shaming her, and Sam stood up for Ashlye in the live stream, saying that that's not acceptable and she was not going to allow that. So after that happened, somebody tweeted out to Ashlye saying, or in her DMs saying, hey, did you see what Sam did on her live stream for you? And so she saw it and then reached out to Sam to thank her and to squash the beef that they have had in the past. Now, if you've been following any of these channels for a while, you know that they have not always been on good terms with Here for the Tea. And so Ashlye was just pretty much like, you know what, I'm done with it. I'm done with the hate. I'm done with the drama. I'm just going to squash it and let's just be cordial to one another. And that's what she did. That's what Ashlye wants to do, and if she wants to squash the beef with Sam, that's totally up to her, her prerogative. And that brings us up to the trip to Houston, where everybody met up at Nick Snider's for his holiday party. Now, Ashlye says that she really wanted to go, but with her big fear of flying, which I totally understand because I have the same thing, and her kids being on Christmas break and the holidays and everything, that it just apparently wasn't going to work out for her. She goes on to state that Tawny was going to fly to where she was, so that way she wasn't flying alone to be able to help her with her anxiety. But then her husband said, you know, with the kids out for break, it's just not really good timing. So right there was the first thing that I just kind of started to question a little bit. I understand that, yes, if your kids are out for school, you have to be able to line up childcare and everything. But when you're planning a trip somewhere, you know when your kids are going to be out of school like months in advance. Like the calendar year for the entire school year comes out right at the beginning of the year. So she already knew when her kids were going to be out for holiday. So when she was planning this trip to Houston, she already knew that she was going to have to be able to get childcare for her kids if her husband's working or whatever. Because when she's going to Houston, I mean, she would have been able to work and it would be able to bring in money, help her channel grow. So I feel like saying you couldn't go because of your kids, that they were out of school, like you knew that to begin with, that they weren't going to be in school. So I don't know how, personally, in my opinion, that's a valid reason unless you had your childcare cancel last minute that you already had lined up. If you hadn't lined anything up already, then you weren't planning on going to begin with, again, in my opinion. So that was the first thing that I started to question about the video. Again, I'm not mom shaming Ashlye or anything like that. I am just stating what I personally am observing from the video. No mom shaming going on, nothing about the kids. No, I just want to state what I am seeing and hearing. Then goes on to state that she's actually glad that she didn't go to Houston and that maybe things would have been different if she did go to Houston. And I believe 100% that things would be different if she did go to Houston, but we'll get into that more later on in the video. She goes on to state that later on, closer to Christmas, she didn't give an exact date because she said she didn't know it. I wish that she would have looked it up and found the exact date of the message that she received from one of her followers that saying that Nick Snider had unfollowed her. And the reason why I wish she would have looked up the date is because then it would correspond to like when he unfollowed her versus the holiday party. Did he unfollow her like the day of the holiday party when she didn't show up? Did he unfollow her like the day before when they thought she wasn't going to come? Did he unfollow her the day after? So I believe that having the actual day would have been really helpful in figuring out some of the drama. She then goes on to state that she checked to see if anybody had unfollowed her, and she did verify that Nick had unfollowed her, and she thought it was either about the video that she did about Rich or the fact that her and Here for the Tea had squashed their beef. Now, we will learn later on in the video that it was actually really because of neither of those, a little bit because of one, but really neither. But we'll get into that more in the video. She then continues on saying that she was hurt, that Nick had unfollowed her, and that she reached out to talk to him to find out why, and he basically just ghosted her and didn't respond. And she said that, she was extremely hurt about the whole situation, and she felt that she could have at least been owed the courtesy of why that he was unfollowing her. But unfortunately, we live in the digital age. We are in 2020, even back in 2019, the years before that. Like, almost everything is done online, and it just happens. Like, people get ghosted all the time. I mean, I've experienced that myself in probably the worst situation ever, when you are with somebody and they're literally sleeping in your bed. You go and drop them off at their house and talk to them the next day, and after 5 years, they just up and stop talking to you. So imagine how that feels versus just somebody who is your friend who just ghosts you and doesn't talk to you. So I can understand why you're upset, but it's not that serious. It's not that deep. I understand that you've considered him a close friend of a year, but people sometimes just fall apart or fall out, and it just happens. That's life, unfortunately. No one is owed anything. There's no courtesy that you have to tell somebody why you're no longer friends with them. The only thing that's guaranteed in life is death and taxes, and that's it. Again, I'm not trying to invalidate Ashley's feelings. I am just sharing my opinion and putting it into perspective with what I have experienced. She then goes back to Here for the Tea and just starts to say pretty much like she has the right to be nice to anybody that she wants to be, and cordial with anybody, and civil with anybody. And she is right. She absolutely has that right to. Later on in the video, we'll discuss why there's issues with that when it comes to her friends, because some of these people that she's friends with don't have a relationship with Sam for Here for the Tea and don't want one, and they just don't like her. And so that's kind of why some of these people are like, you know what? I don't want to associate myself with you if you're going to be associating with these other people that I don't like, that I don't trust, and that have been extremely rude to me into the past and are still rude to me into the future, and that's their right. So if they don't want to associate with you because of who you associate with, then they have the right to do that. So saying that it's not fair for them to not associate with you because of who you want to associate with, it's not fair to say the same thing for them, saying that, well, we can still be friends even though I'm friends with this person. If they don't trust that person and they don't want that person around any information, whether you are giving information to that person or not, if they don't want to take that chance, they don't have to, period. And then she takes us to the live stream that happened in Houston. If you guys didn't see that, pretty much everybody who was there, Paige, Dustin, Rich, Margot, Tawny, Jake Yonsei, just a bunch of people who went to Nick's for his holiday party, were all on a live stream together. And when they brought up Ashlye Kyle and Nick and Paige unfollowing her, she was kind of hurt that Dustin didn't stand up for her, or that Dustin just stayed in the room. She stated in the video that she hasn't seen it, but she was told that Rich Lux had left the room when the live stream was going on. Now, I did watch the live stream, and from what I can remember, Dustin was sitting on the couch in front of everybody, and Rich was sitting off to the side on the couch. And I don't remember if he left before they started talking about Ashlye or when they brought her up. I personally don't remember, so I can't speak on that. But if he was there and he left when they brought her up, again, he was off in the corner on a couch over here, like here, while Dustin was literally in front of everybody. So if Rich got up and left, nobody really would have noticed, whereas if Dustin got up and left, everybody would have seen him get up and leave. And maybe when that topic came up, he was just in shock and didn't know what to do, which is totally understandable. Like, he was maybe just like, oh God, what's going on? Which I can totally understand that. And he didn't participate in anything about the whole situation. And I remember like watching the video, and he just kind of sat there and just like was reading comments on the phone and didn't really say anything. So he was just trying to take himself out of the situation without causing a scene. That's what I saw from the live stream anyways. And who knows what would have happened if he said anything on the live stream about, hey, let's not talk about that or let's keep that offline. I mean, I'm sure he didn't want to cause a big scene in front of everybody because, the live was going, and I can totally understand that too. So to say that he didn't really defend you, I mean, he didn't participate in any of it that I can remember. So, I mean, he did he did what he could to stay out of it as best as possible without causing a scene. And the final thing that she brings up is Dustin tweeted out saying something along the lines of seeing somebody who you're friends with associate with somebody who dragged me on the daily is very disappointing. And she states that, well, you're hanging out with these people in Houston and you weren't defending me. So who am I associating with that I should be defending you against? Like, if you want to associate with these people, why does it matter who I associate with? And we'll get into that a little bit later in the video when we talk about Dustin's. Okay, so now let's get into Nick Snider's video. He starts off the video with saying that him unfollowing Ashlye had absolutely zero to do with Here for the Tea in the beginning. Did that influence it more later on? Yes, but when he unfollowed her to begin with, it had absolutely nothing to do with Here for the Tea. He then goes on to state that the reason that he no longer wanted to be friends with her or associate with her is because he didn't like the wishy-washy behavior that she had. And what he's referring to is that he has offered multiple times to fly her out to get her a hotel. He paid for all of it, and every time she would have an excuse like, hey, like, I just had a panic attack, I'm not able to fly, like, I can't do it, which, again, I totally understand because I have a giant fear of flying. And then the main one was when she was supposed to be coming down to Charlotte. He got her a flight and she was pretty much on the plane and had a panic attack and had to get off. And then she told him, like, hey, like, I'm just going to drive because it's only like 6 hours. So I'm just going to get in the car and drive and I'll be there. He then reached out to her for assurance that she was still coming, and she said yes, she was, because he said that if she wasn't, he had reached out to the hotel and he said that they would give him a refund minus 1 night, but since she said that she was coming, he didn't cancel the reservation and he waited for her to show up. He then goes on to state that she pretty much ghosted him and just never showed up. And then he said that the final straw, really why he unfollowed her, was because of the holiday party. Everything keeps going back to Nick's holiday party. Apparently that's where all the drama is. So she was supposed to come to the holiday party. Everything was paid for, everything like that. And they correlated Tawny to go fly to pick up Ashlye so that way she wasn't flying alone. And then she said that she couldn't come yet again. He then continues on to say that he just then decided to unfollow her because of everything that happened, and he didn't want everything to be happening online, and so instead of making some big announcement that he was unfollowing her or anything, he just didn't unfollow. He said that she can be super hard on herself sometimes about things. I personally don't know her, so I don't know any of that information, but he just wanted to walk away and be done with everything. He continues on to say that he then saw her associating with people online that he did not want to be associated with because they are constantly dragging him or his friends on a daily basis, which again we'll get into later on when we get to Dustin's video because Dustin is the one that brought all that up. And so he pretty much said, I don't want to be associated with this. And that's his right. If he doesn't want to be associated with somebody because of their friends, then that's totally his right and he's able to do that. And then following the holiday party, Nick did have a relapse. And again, do not leave any kind of hate or anything like that in the comments below. Anything like that will be deleted. We are not coming to talk about people's sobriety or addiction issues. I'm only bringing it up because it was in his video. So after all his relapse happened, he did get a message from Ashlye reaching out, making sure that he was doing okay. And then he was also getting messages from somebody else. He did not say who it was, so I'm not going to speculate and think I know who it was because I don't. And so they were texting him, making sure he was doing okay, but at the same time, apparently these two people, Ashlye and this other person, were texting back and forth, and according to Nick, they had sent him a message to Nick instead of to Ashlye, and it was pretty much them just talking about him, I'm going to assume in a not so positive light, according to him. And he thought maybe it was like an accident or something like that. But then he received another message from that person that was meant to go to somebody else. And he's just like, why are these people talking about me like this behind my back? And then that leads us up to Dustin Dailey's video. So basically, Dustin starts out his video with talking about courtesy and how she was not awarded the courtesy from Nick about the unfollow. And he pretty much says a courtesy is just that, a courtesy. It's not anything that you're guaranteed. Somebody just does it for kindness, which I totally agree. No one is owed anything in life. And if you do something out of courtesy, that's because you want to. It's not something that's required. Dustin then goes on to address the fact that Ashlye and Sam have squashed their beef or tried to end everything that happened to them in the past and be civil. And he says, she has the right to do so, but just because you do that doesn't mean then that you go online and you're tweeting each other or liking tweets or subtweeting each other, because that is a friendship and not just squashing the beef and moving on. He then goes on to address a tweet that Ashlye replied to from Sam, where she was pretty much saying, I'm tired of the drama between the drama channels, like, let's just move on. And Ashlye replied to that saying, like, agreed, oops, we're associating. And he took that basically as shade. He then continues on in the video talking about people that Ashlye follows and associates with online who are constantly dragging him and dragging Nick and other people in the community. I'm not going to name any names of anybody because I have not seen any responses from them. If you want to know who he is talking about, you can check the description down below and go watch Dustin's video. He then goes on to state that he has been working really hard on himself over the last year to try to be nicer online and in his videos, to try to see both sides of everything, even if he doesn't agree with that. And if you've been watching Dustin's videos for a while, you can definitely see that. I know I've been watching him for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And if you go back to videos a couple years ago, I mean, he can be very like aggressive or to the point sometimes. And he's definitely changed. So I can definitely see that. But then some of these accounts on Twitter will call him out and say that he's being a bully or other things like that, when he is just trying to stand up for himself or for one of his friends. If somebody's coming and attacking you, you're obviously going to go on the defensive and say, no, that's not right, or no, like, you're wrong, like, you don't know what you're talking about. And that's totally fine. If somebody comes and attacks you, you definitely have the right to defend yourself. He then goes on to state that him and Here for the Tea had a falling out over a video that was made, and he was like, you know what, fine, whatever, doesn't bother me, I'm done. And then after that, somebody was trying to dox Sam for Here for the Tea, and even though they weren't friends or friendly or anything like that, he did reach out to her and say like, hey, this person's trying to get your information, this isn't cool, I just wanted to let you know. And she thanked him for giving her that information. And I think like anybody who is trying to dox anybody is absolutely disgusting. Like, you don't put anybody's personal information out there that can put them in danger. So the fact that even though that they weren't friends or even friendly, that he would reach out to her really shows that he has grown as a person. He continues on to say that just because he doesn't like you means just that he doesn't like you. He wishes the best for everybody, and just because he doesn't like you doesn't mean that he wishes ill on you. He just does not want to associate with you. Dustin then goes on to back up Nick's story about the multiple times that they had tried to get Ashlye to come and visit them and do collabs, and that it wasn't because of her kids, it was because her husband said no, like, don't go. So he basically said, like, yes, what Nick said was true. And so then that brings us up to the Houston trip. So Dustin was the one that was organizing the flights so that Tawny could fly with Ashlye, so that way she had somebody with her so she could have somebody to help her with her anxiety for her fear of flying. So basically he arranged all these flights for her and Tawny to come to Houston, and he was like, are you coming? And she's like, yes. And then she pretty much ghosted him, according to Dustin, for like 24 hours and then said, I'm not coming. He then goes on to double down about the unfollowing and saying that you are not owed anything on Twitter. You are not owed an unfollow. You are not owed a follow. So if an unfollow upsets you that much, even if it was somebody who wasn't your friend, then maybe you need to take a step back from social media and reevaluate things and go from there. Anybody has the right to walk away from any situation that they don't want to be in, whether people think that it is courteous or not, and that is their right. If somebody doesn't want to be involved with somebody, they absolutely do not have to be. That is their personal option, and nobody else's. So you can't say, you owe me a reason why. Like, that's their choice, their decision, and if they want to give you a reason, they absolutely can, and if they don't have to. He did state in his video that Ashlye sent him a text message at 1 in the morning. When he didn't reply, she went on and made the video. Now, I haven't seen the text messages or anything, so I don't know what time that she texted him, but I do know that I saw her video posted when I went to work in the morning at 7 a.m., and at 7 a.m. the video was up and posted. And then that brings us to why he has a huge issue with Ashlye following Sam. So at one point, Sam posted online that Dustin was on dating apps when he's been in a relationship for 12 years, and that is between him and his boyfriend. If they want to have an open relationship, that's on them. It is not anybody else's business, so for somebody to put that out there on the internet, it's none of your business. So I can totally see why he wouldn't want to be associated with Sam for Here for the Tea, or anybody that associates with her. Because if somebody's going to put your personal business out on the internet, I wouldn't want to be associated with that person either, and that's just my personal opinion. He then goes on to state that there are other channels as well that have put out his personal information about him being on a dating app when he's in a different city or whatever. And again, that's between him and his boyfriend and nobody else. So I could totally understand why, if you are associating with somebody else who is putting out somebody else's personal information, why you'd want to distance yourself from that person. Again, if somebody's putting out your personal business, I wouldn't want to talk to them either. He then goes on to say that Ashlye is associating herself with people who have been extremely rude and vile to him and have been dragging him on the internet for a long time, and that's why he doesn't want to be associated with anybody that's associated with those people. Like, if you are okay with seeing the tweets and stuff that people are putting out about him, then what are you saying behind the scenes? You know, and who knows? Like, I'm not saying she is saying anything behind the scenes, but if you're okay with them talking about your friend in a negative way, and that's just not okay if you want to associate with that person. Again, my personal opinion, but that's just how I see it. He then goes on to state that Ashlye has pretty much just rolled on her friends because she was sick of getting dragged online. That she made the video about Rich because she was sick of everybody just attacking her, and now she is inserting him to the drama and putting him into it and rolling on him to get sympathy from other people. Again, that is what he is saying. That's not my opinion. That is Dustin's. He then goes on to address that him and Nick had a falling out a while back while they were in California, and that Nick turned to Ashlye for support when Dustin and him were fighting, and they ended up squashing everything and handling everything offline. And that's pretty much what I feel like he's saying, like, this should have happened. If you had a problem, it should have been addressed offline and not online. Again, that's just what I am seeing. Then finally, he addresses a live that Ashlye did on her channel where somebody asked her about if YouTube relationships should be off limits. And she stated pretty much like if you would have asked her like a year ago that she would have said no, but her opinions about that have changed. And so Dustin says, well, how would you like it if somebody was talking about your relationship? You're a YouTuber, you're a public figure, so is your relationship fair game, since obviously mine is, because all of these channels are putting out my personal information. So that is pretty much everything that I have for this video, you guys. Again, I would like to state, please do not go send hate to any of these people that I mentioned in the video. I am just here putting the facts and sharing my opinion on what I think. Also, please do keep the comments down below respectful. I will be deleting anything that is hateful about anybody that is mom shaming, that is bringing up addiction issues, that is just being rude. I will be deleting comments that I do not think are appropriate. Alright guys, that's everything for this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye!